In this tournament, there's only going to be one person who walks away at the end of the day with a smile on their face. Everyone else goes home unhappy.
A record field, nearly 2,600 people came to play this year's main event. And many big names have already gone home without a smile on their face. Oh my God!
It's just the toughest field at the World Series of Poker ever.
It's very sneaky, very sneaky.
That hurt. It's going to take a huge effort just to get into that top 100.
He's playing me like a little girl already.
You have to play the game great at all times. Yes, baby, a pot!
It's a long tournament, but I'm going to be here for a few days.
The field has now become one.
Congratulations, everybody!
And 1,100 players are alive.
All about survival.
But only one will be world champion.
Please, let me get on a card run!
Welcome everybody to day 3 of the main event at the 2004 World Series of Poker presented by Miller High Life. Of the nearly 2,600 who paid the $10,000 buy-in for this no-limit championship, more than half that number are already gone. Among the familiar faces still around are an impressive array of former world champions and bracelet winners, including the Professor, Howard Lederer, and his sister, Annie Duke.
Hey, you know what? I have more than my brother has now.
Their sibling rivalry is just one of the many intriguing subplots in the field today, with everyone competing for the $5 million first prize. Hello, everybody. I'm Lon McCarron alongside Norman Chad. We have just about 1,100 players remaining in our event. And you know, in any competition, there is an unstoppable evolution of all-stars. And Norm, we've had our share of young guns winning so far this year.
One of them, Scott Fischman, was born in 1980, which is 3 years after Doyle Brunson won his second straight World Series main event title. Now they sit together, the 23-year-old internet whiz and the 2,000-year-old man.
Texas Dolly actually is 70 years old and has about 18,000 chips. And Scott Fischman, 2 bracelets already this year. He's just over the chip average. He's got about 26,000. The blinds are 250 and 500 right now as we begin.
And 2 players in Hold'em are forced into the action before every hand. Those are the blinds. They will go up as the day goes on.
And Doyle Brunson on the Miller High Life pocket cam. He's got a couple of queens.
You know, Doyle chose not to play in the World Series for a number of years, Lon. It's hard to imagine how many bracelets he would have won if he had played all those years.
Doyle will call the big blind. And now action over to Michael Appling from El Campo, Texas. He's got a King 10 suited. And he too calls. Action over to Scott Fischman, a member of the crew. And with a King 5 unsuited.
And this is the first time Scott has played in the main event.
And now Tom Livia, living in Boca Raton, Florida, with a King 6 and 2 diamonds. He'll check the option.
He is in the big blind, so he will see the flop for free.
Brunson with the lead with 2 queens, and the flop is 3 hearts, and so Brunson and Fischman now with a heart draw.
Fischman first act in the small blind, and even though he has the heart draw, he will check.
Over to Livia, reaching for chips. And 2,000 is the bet to Brunson.
Livia betting a pair of 6s, and Doyle quickly calls the 2,000 with his pocket queens.
All in.
And Michael Appling will go all in, and right away you see Fischman and Livia fold.
Doyle knows that unless Appling has 2 hearts in the hole, Doyle's 2 queens are probably good right now.
You want to count it? How much?
68.50.
Appling all in for 68.50.
What I like about the old Warriors, Lon, like TJ Cloutier and Doyle, they will act fairly quickly on their hands. Not a lot of delay, and here he goes, and he will call the all-in. And Doyle in a dominating position, his queens against Appling's 10s.
Queens? Is that queens?
And Doyle has the flush draw.
But Doyle seems a bit uneasy about his hand right now.
It just might be bad laxative.
3 of spades, and that moves Appling closer to elimination.
Appling will need a 10 or the last king in the deck, or he is eliminated from this World Series.
And the river card, a 9 of clubs, and Michael Appling knocked out of the main event by Doyle Brunson.
Yeah. Could have been not too good.
He hopes he's in for the long haul after getting knocked out on day 1 last year.
Is day 1 the toughest to get through?
Yes, for me.
Yeah. You got to think of 1,300 people being eliminated or 1,400 people being eliminated, you know, you surviving. Every day's tough.
A good start for Texas Dolly and our Texas Hold'em main event. We've seen Doyle Brunson. He is one of 3 players who have 9 World Series bracelets, and there is another one, Johnny Chan.
Going all in.
And Johnny Chan, with his tournament life at stake, he is going all in at one of these outer tables.
Good in.
And the river card is no help to Johnny Chan, and he's been eliminated.
No chance for his fruit even to ripen. He was short stacked and all in several times before getting knocked out.
The third member of the 9 bracelet club is right there, Phil Hellmuth, and he is playing a hand right now against Christopher McCoy. Before the flop, Phil has the lead with the king high, and now the flop comes, and Phil now with a pair of 10s.
And he has bet 1,200. And McCoy raises to 5,000. Phil checks out the chip stack of his opponent.
And he'll throw in the call with a pair of 10s.
So McCoy raised with nothing there.
And the turn card, and now McCoy turns the tables on Phil.
Yeah, with a pair of queens, Phil will now check.
McCoy should bet it. No, he's going to check it.
I guess he's slow playing it.
And now the river card is 6 of diamonds, and the check mark shows McCoy can't lose the hand if he stays in it. And Hellmuth throws in a bet of 700. And a call from McCoy.
10s.
Phil turns over the 10s.
No!
And sees the queens.
Let me see the hand. Guy raised me on the flop drawn dead.
Yeah. Well, if he was drawing dead, he couldn't have won the hand, could he? McCoy raised him on the flop with bupkis, then checked the best hand with queens, so Phil, understandably frustrated, he couldn't figure out what the amateur was doing.
Brutal. They did this to me like 20 times this trip. They try to give me the money, and I hit miracle after miracle.
Phil might want to think about switching to Go Fish.
Wow.
Fewer bad beats.
That was worth the price of admission.
McCoy says it was worth the 10,000 just to beat Hellmuth in one hand.
Yeah, it must feel pretty good putting it in there drawn dead and hitting a miracle. It's a good thing I'm such a strong player. Wow.
And a good thing he's got over 25,000 chips left.
The World Series of Poker is brought to you by Milwaukee's Best Light. Milwaukee's Best Light, brewed for a man's taste. And in part by the Toyota Tundra Double Cab. Not just big, life size. And Harris Entertainment. The World Series of Poker presented by Miller High Life. Main Event.
Back inside the Horseshoe Casino, $5 million up for grabs. Checking on some of the other crew members out in the field, there is the bracelet of Brett Youngblood, his first ever. He won that earlier in this World Series, and he came in with about 35,000 chips to start the day. He makes a strong raise here at one of the outer tables, forcing the other players out, and takes the pot.
Sometimes a bracelet demands respect. They all drop.
Dutch Boyd, member of the crew, still seeking his first World Series of Poker bracelet. He started with about 9,000 chips today. And there's Scott Fischman from our feature table, keeping an eye on his crew member, Dutch Boyd, who goes all in. Dutch had a 9-3 in the hole, and now on the turn he makes a straight. And Dutch Boyd will take the hand and eliminate David Macula from this main event. Macula looks for the nearest exit, and Dutch Boyd's survival keeps all the crew members alive, and he goes over to celebrate with Scott Fischman. Back at our featured table, Doyle Brunson. He's been a one-man wrecking crew his entire career.
His version of chip tricks right there. Pocket sevens.
Doyle Brunson will call the big blind. Adam Garfinkel will fold. Over to Mike Moratis. First World Series of Poker. He's got a 10-8 of clubs. He's an options trader from Chicago. Says the biggest influence of his poker life is reading Doyle Brunson's Super System book. And he will call also. David Plastique in the white hat will fold. And now to Scott Fischman. Ace King.
Time to make a move.
A very quiet, bold move, a raise of 4,000 by Fischman. Livia gets rid of his cards.
You got any yellows back there? I'm all in.
Doyle Brunson is going to go all in with his 2 7s against Scott Fischman.
And actually, he would be putting Scott Fischman all in, who has fewer chips. In his book, Super System, Doyle talks about playing aggressive, and right now he is, as usual, being aggressive.
You had queens again?
You recall Doyle had pocket queens earlier in the show and forced Scott to fold.
I can beat queens.
Ace-king beats queens? Then somebody owes me some money from the other day.
Oh, you see the pot size just over 28,000. Fischman right now has only about 22,000 in his stack.
Oh, the internet whiz kid is trying to figure out whether the Texas road gambler is making a move on him.
I know you're setting me up for this. So easy to read. I just don't want to gamble. Been setting me up for this since we sat down.
It is a tough decision for Scott. He'd be in for all his chips in what is probably a coin flip situation in his mind.
Scott is going to give up his ace-king to Doyle Brunson.
The old man takes the young gun to school.
He was setting me up. He knew what he was doing. Even got to show down the queens. I mean, like, the whole play was there. It was all written down, ready to go.
Well, it's been written down for about 25 years in Super System. You just have to read it.
When's your book coming out?
Well, Scott's with the crew, so that would be a coloring book.
He said he could beat queens, almost fainted.
I know.
Scott may not have read Doyle's book, perhaps because he's part of a new school of player that's taking a different approach to learning the game.
We're all under 24. Forget it.
So, TJ, what do you think about all these young kids?
Oh, the World Series of Poker.
There's room for everybody.
What?
There's room for everybody. The old-time players, we were kind of a different breed than these young kids. It was kind of the way out of poverty, but we had a good time. They're educated, they're smart, and they manage themselves like businessmen.
I play poker full time. I play a lot on the internet.
The internet is great because you can get in, 10,000 hands a week.
When I was playing, I'd got a deck of cards, and I just dealt through thousands of times to see what the percentages were in different hands.
I've seen every situation, like I've played so many hands that everything's like automatic. I feel like I'm one of the best players there is.
How can you lose with 2-8? Well, I wish I was 23 years old right now.
These kids learn in 5 minutes what it took me years.
We're gonna take over the poker world. We're bringing in this new surge of power, and everybody's gonna have to start scrambling to catch up.
He gets another bracelet. He gets another bracelet. He gets another bracelet.
The potential that they've got now, it's unlimited. And I just wished I was a little bit younger to go through it with them.
Well, Norm, I guess 55 years of poker experience are of some value when you get into the main event. Scott Fischman still trying to figure out the old pro. Another member of the crew, Dutch Boyd, down to about 4,000 chips right now, taking on one of the veterans here, Howard Lederer.
A middle-aged old schooler.
There you go. And Dutch Boyd is going to go all in once again.
We saw him all in with 9-3 suited earlier, and he survived, and now he's got to go all in with King-10 offsuit.
Howard reaching for his chips. Actually, chip. It only takes one to call Dutch's all in.
And not a tough decision for Howard with pocket sixes. It didn't cost him a whole lot to see this. Dutch sees what he's up against. He's got 2 overcards, so it'll be a coin flip situation for him to stay alive.
And now the flop, it comes 4-8-3 nothing for Dutch Boyd.
And Dutch now a 3-1 underdog to stay alive in the tournament.
The turn is an ace of clubs. Boyd's hourglass is emptying.
Boyd will need a king or 10 or his 2004 World Series is over.
And it is a 7 of clubs. Dutch Boyd expelled by the Professor Howard Lederer here in the main event. Dutch took us on such a great ride last year. He finished 12th in the main event, but here going out on day 3. After that win, Howard Lederer has over 27,000 chips after knocking out a member of the crew.
Brett and Scotty both are doing great, so hopefully they'll represent, but not this year for me.
The Toyota Points Leader is brought to you by Toyota Tundra Double Cab. Not just big, life-size.
As we look at our Toyota Player of the Year leaderboard, number 1 on the list, Daniel Negreanu, was eliminated in day 1, so that leaves the door open for guys like Howard Lederer and Scott Fischman to take the lead, and guys like this, Min Nguyen in second place entering the main event, but he's been fighting a short stack, and now he's all in on this hand, and Min Nguyen has been eliminated. There's Miami John Cernuto in 8th place on the list. He's low on chips, though, right now.
I love this guy, Lon. Every time I see him, he's either ordering food or ordering a massage. He's up against Mike Cox, who has raised him 4,000 on the river with nothing, 4-3 offsuit.
Gotta let you bluff this one. Laying down a big hand.
Boy, he's laying down a big hand. 3 jacks. And his old school buddy has taken him to school. He's going to show him the bluff.
3, 4. Yeah, he's working on a straight.
Hey, that was a great play.
Nice attitude from Miami John. One name we expected to see on the Toyota leaderboard was Erik Seidel. World Series, though, been a bit disappointing for the 6-time bracelet winner. Of course, he's hoping to turn things around in the main event.
When you're totally focused and concentrating, all the pieces will come together, and that can lead to a great big win.
So why has Erik Seidel had so much free time for puzzles, pots, and painting these past few weeks? Well, his poker play just hasn't been up to par lately.
Over the last couple of years, I'm probably the most consistent player on the tour. Starting with this year, I really haven't done anything. I've been to one final table. My friends on the death watch, dude. You really have to look at these things in the long term. Every day you show up for work, and 99% of the time you go home disappointed. 1 or 2 times a year you win a great tournament, and all of a sudden you're thrilled, you're a genius again. Eventually things will turn around, I hope, or else my house will be for sale.
Right now, hole may be looking even closer. Erik is all in for over 20,000 chips against his good friend, Chris Jesus Ferguson, the man who won this event back in 2000. And Ferguson folds his hand, and Erik wins it.
Erik says that he does not play well on TV, but in front of our cameras just now, he's able to take in those chips. He looked pretty good.
Doing his best impression of Top Gun, Scott Fischman, just learning that fellow crew member Dutch Boyd's been eliminated.
Dutch is out.
No, yeah, right.
What?
He only had like 9,000, right?
Yeah, he's out.
David Plastique, familiar with the crew members. Brett Youngblood staying with him during the World Series.
Actually, Lon, Youngblood was staying at Fischman's house first, but him and Fischman couldn't hack it as roommates, so Youngblood moved in with Plastique, and now David kiddingly takes credit for all their bracelets.
Well, why not? Tom Livia with a couple of 7s. He's got about 28,000 in chips right now, and he will bet 2,500 of them.
I think he lives alone.
Over to Anthony Tran, born in Vietnam, lives in California. He's got a couple of jacks.
I'm all in. Hello.
He's going all in with his jacks, and with just 12,000 chips, it's the right spot for him.
Garfinkel will fold. Moretus folds. There's Cam Kim Hua. And he'll get out of the hand. Over to Scott Fischman.
Oh, my favorite hand.
Scott decides he doesn't feel like playing the worst starting hand in Hold'em.
I just got a feeling.
And a decision to make for Tom Livia.
Well, to call this, it would take almost half of his chips remaining, and he is going to call the all-in. And now he'll see the sad sight of what he's up against.
And now it's Livia's 7s versus Tran's jacks.
And Livia, not happy to see the over pair, makes him a big underdog.
So Anthony Tran is all in on the flop, and wow, both barrels empty. 2 more jacks.
I believe there are only 4 jacks in the entire deck. That's all he can have.
I did it.
Tom Livia takes a big hit to his chip stack.
Nice hand, man.
Thank you. I mugged twice. This time I have to gamble with it.
So Tran doubles up, and Tom Livia left with about 15,000 chips. Our blinds now are at 300, 600 at the main event.
Where are you from, David?
Me, New York City.
All the New Yorkers notice everything in the game.
Yeah.
And everything I ever saw. Really?
I believe him. He's been studying people a long time. Can Kim Hua Looking at ace queen.
He is good friends with Men the Master. The big difference being that Can Kim never speaks.
Over to Tom Livia, trying to get back some of those chips he just lost. He's got a suited 5-4, and he'll call. Doyle Brunson will fold, save his chips for another play. So it'll be C.K. Hua and Tom Livia. We'll see the flop, and Hua with 2 queens, Livia with a pair of 4s.
Hua with the top pair does check.
Wonder if Livia has another feeling. He does. He's going all in with the 4.
It's a semi-bluff on his part. He's got the bottom pair. I can't believe he wants a call. And he is going to get a call from Hua. And Livia is going to be all in and a 4-1 underdog as we go to the turn.
Lucky, baby. Get lucky.
And now the turn is a queen, a 3rd queen for CK, and that ends the proceedings.
Boy, we saw him drawing dead after the flop with the jacks, and now he's drawing dead after the turn to send him out of this tournament.
No limit is a dangerous game. Tom Livia lost all his chips in just 2 hands.
700 players now remaining. 700.
$6.99.
We have just under 700 players left in the main event vying for the $5 million first prize. One of them is Phil Hellmuth. He had 25,000 chips when we last checked in on him, but Phil has taken a number of big hits. He's down to just 3,300 chips and all in versus 2 players. And Phil does win the hand, collects some chips. He's alive, but maybe not as healthy as he might like to be at this stage of the tournament.
He's quiet now, but let him get a few more chips, and I think we're going to hear from Phil again.
Continuing action on our featured table, which is actually a pretty experienced table. We talk about all the young amateurs here at the World Series, but a lot of good years of poker surrounding this table right now.
Or in the case of Scott Fischman, good months of poker. He's had a great run.
Fischman with a King-9 offsuit will bet 2,500 chips. Tran will fold now to Doyle Brunson. And a suited Queen-Jack.
And Doyle is in the small blind. He will play.
The blind's at 400, 800 now. Fischman and Doyle Brunson going toe-to-toe for the 2nd time today. And the flop, 3 diamonds. Fischman with a pair of 9s, Doyle with a straight draw.
And neither one with a diamond in the hole. Doyle will check.
And Scott Fischman does likewise. And now the turn card, 6 of hearts. Doesn't do a lot for either player. Doyle Brunson ready to act, and he will bet 4,000 chips.
You see Scott swallow heart there, Lon?
I did.
He's seen a lot of hands online, but he's never seen Doyle there.
And Scott Fischman will make the call. Fischman with a 3-1 advantage on the river. Now you see the check mark by Fischman's name. He's got the hand won if he doesn't fold.
Now Doyle had bluffed on the turn, and Fischman called him immediately.
Doyle's already reaching for chips. That usually means action.
15.
Wow. Doyle decides to fire another bullet. Fischman has the best hand with a pair of 9s. Doyle has bluffed this pot 2 straight times, and the ace on the river may scare Fischman.
Scott Fischman folds the winning hand. Wow.
Lon, it's the Doyle Brunson show, and Scott Fischman is in the front row. There's a lot of good kick left in that 70-year-old body and mind.
It's good to be Doyle.
I don't think I needed to see any diamonds there.
Is Doyle toying with him?
What? See, I don't think I wanted any diamonds coming off, I don't think.
Scott Fischman is in no mood for chit-chat right now.
I think it's hard to lie about your hand because they'll see it later.
The cameras do indeed see all, and we have all enjoyed seeing a number of breakout groups. One of the most noticeable is the women. Cindy Violette won a championship bracelet this year and is doing well so far today. Annie Duke also doing well today, and she too is a bracelet winner this year, proving that women are indeed a major threat in any event they enter.
Women have been succeeding at the World Series of Poker now for about 10 years.
I think women actually have a certain advantage at the poker table.
They may have better intuition, they may have better stamina. They go through a lot of more emotional strain than men, bringing up kids and stuff like that.
The corpora callosum that connects the two halves of the brain, the right brain and the left brain, is larger in women.
Check dark. Definitely, with some men, you have an advantage being a woman. Because the male ego gets involved.
They, want to be friendly with you and they want to be nice to you, so they'll check the river to me when they have the best hand just because I'm a woman poker player.
The bottom line is I just don't like to beat the woman, period. And I don't want to lose to them either.
Did you catch me beating my brother a pot?
Women can compete with the men, and it's not so scary, and you can get to the top of the game, and you can be just as good as any man in the world.
Being the best would mean winning the main event here at the World Series of Poker, and Annie certainly has that goal to be the first woman ever to do that. Here she is in a hand making a big raise, which wins a nice pot, and Annie Duke upwards around 70,000 chips right now. Annie's certainly one of the most recognizable women here in the field, but there's a newcomer here as well. Her name is Erin Ness, 26-year-old photo assistant for Maxim magazine, making her World Series debut. She quickly learns that two kings maybe aren't always the best hand. She's up against three sevens. Just a king now will save her. She got it. Erin Ness finds out the beginner's luck is not a bad thing to have at the World Series of Poker.
Holy.
Nice try, man.
Oh my God.
He might have chips.
Can I breathe now?
Erin, you can do anything you want.
It's exciting, huh?
I have no idea what I'm doing here, but this is fun.
The World Series of Poker presented by Miller High Life. Main event.
Back inside the horseshoe, Lon McCarron along with Norman Chad. Our blinds at the featured table are 400, 800. Jan Sjovic has joined this featured table as they do shuffle players and tables throughout the day. He's got a couple of eights. Jan Sjovic will put an 800 to match the big blind. To Doyle Brunson. Doesn't like what he sees, and he will fold. Moretus gives it up over to David Plastique. Born in New York, now lives in Las Vegas, a professional poker player.
It's a very modest hand. He's in the small blind, and he'll pay the discounted price.
C.K. Hua with a 7 jack offsuit.
In the big blind, he doesn't put anything else in to see the flop.
And the flop comes, and Hua picks up a pair of jacks. Plastique will be first to act. He'll check, Hua will check. Sjovic also checks, and now the turn card. It's a 9 Plastique with a pair of 9s now, but Hua still leads with his jacks. Plastique will act and go all in.
So he decides to muscle up with only 4,700 chips left. There's actually a couple of cards out there that could beat him on the board. He loses to jacks, he loses to queens. He only has 9s, but he's going to put the pressure on C.K. Hua, who has the jacks.
And C.K. will fold, and Sjovic immediately folds as well, and Plastique wins the hand.
So C.K. Hua had the best hand, but he got rid of it.
And the river card, there's what it would have been, a 3 of clubs.
So actually, Hua would have lost the hand, Plastique would have made 2 pair. I've had it with that rabbit cam, though. It's sometimes better not to know.
How did the celebrities do yesterday? Any of them survive it?
The girl, well, she survived on the first day. Laura Papone from that 70s show.
How about Toby Maguire? What did he do?
He got busted. He got busted late last.
While these guys are on the subject, let's bring everyone out on the famous faces that were in the field in this celebrity edition of The Nuts. Toby Maguire, James Woods, and Norm Macdonald were among the stars to play this year's event, and while most of them had no problem fitting in,
It's a pleasure.
others tried to be a bit more inconspicuous, and most of them more than held their own at the table.
here. They're trying to needle me there.
They did their best to survive in their roles as dead money.
I am so not dead money, I can't tell you. Smack your face. Here, come over. I'm going to slap him a little bit, okay?
Speaking of surviving, here's how one couple spent their prize money.
We're gonna go do it now, okay?
Boston Rob tried to extend his 15 minutes a bit longer.
He also said he was going to win Survivor, but he came in second.
But this time he was not granted immunity and the tribe had spoken. Former baseball all-star Bobby Bonilla hung on the longest.
I can tell everybody, oh, I got Bobby Bo good.
But in the end, even the mighty Bobby Bo struck out.
I tip my hat to everyone that's still in the tournament.
For these celebrities, it wasn't as much about winning, but showing that they definitely belong.
I outlasted Moneymaker and Farhad, man. That means I'm the third best player in the world. Enough time for
One celebrity missing from that group is Ben Affleck, who had a prior scheduling conflict, so he couldn't be here for the main event.
Scheduling conflict, please. He's standing outside of J-Lo's nail salon with $10 of roses.
Couldn't make it, that's all we heard. David Plastique with an 8-7 suit is going to go all in again with his 7,400 chips.
He cleared his schedule to be here. I'm with him.
Scott Fischman now, ace-king.
Can you count it?
7,400. I'm guessing, though.
Asking for a count.
Scott wants to see what percentage of his chips he would have to put in to match the all-in. It would be about 1/4 of his stack. He has 30,000.
I know Scott likes ace-king.
Most of the time you want to go heads up with ace-king if you can.
And Scott Fischman will call. And now the action moves around the table. Everybody folds over to Doyle Brunson.
Yikes.
He'll like that.
Well, this is going to be more than heads up then for Scott Fischman.
Doyle and Scott Fischman have tangled a few times already today, so Doyle may have a pretty good read on Scott. Plastique, an interested observer also.
And I'm all in.
And Doyle Brunson's going to use his muscle, go all in. He's got the most chips on the table.
Plastique is already all in, so now Doyle, for the second time today, is going to put Scott Fischman all in. Fischman declined last time.
I wish I would have done that.
Well, it's another tough decision for Scott. He doesn't mind going all in against one guy, but a guy in front of him went all in, the guy behind him went all in, and the guy behind him, Doyle, has been treating Fischman like his personal boy Friday all day.
You guys are making me sweat.
Plastique knows he's in trouble. The only hands that would really bother Fischman would be pocket aces or kings, and Brunson has the kings.
And Scott Fischman is going to make the play.
Oh, I got no chance.
Plastique running third in a 2-horse field here, it feels like it to him.
I got ace king.
I need to get real lucky.
Real lucky.
Well, Doyle now with the chance to take out 2 for the price of 1. Fischman and Plastique both all in and behind.
And Doyle sits on the throne and waits.
Oh, there's so much money in the pot. I was hoping he had queens.
And now the flop. Jack 3-2 does not help.
Runner.
Plastique knows he needs clubs. Fischman knows it's looking grim. And Doyle knows he's got a stranglehold on this baby.
And now the turn card. Queen of clubs, and that gives David Plastique some life.
Oh, uh-oh.
Yeah, another club would save David Plastique. And Fischman needs an ace or a 10 for a straight, and he would be saved.
With 2 bracelets already, Scott Fischman's had an amazing World Series, but his run might be over now. Doyle Brunson could knock out 2 players if he wins this hand. And it is a 7 of hearts, and he does just that.
Nice hand, Doyle.
Scott Fischman and David Plastique eliminated from the main event by Texas Dolly, Doyle Brunson.
Good work. You're a good player.
I'll tell you.
He's taking them out one by one.
Kings, aces, everything.
Doyle Brunson feeling very comfortable, up around 100,000 chips.
I didn't know if I wanted him to call it or not. No, I thought that's probably about what he had.
He's an incredible player, Doyle. I mean, I don't know if he outplayed me today. I don't know if I've got something to learn, but this was my first main event. I mean, you know, I made a good showing, and as far as the whole World Series, I couldn't be happier. I mean, I have no regrets. I'm really, really happy.
The World Series of Poker is brought to you by Milwaukee's Best Light. Milwaukee's Best Light, brewed for a man's taste, and in part by Levitra. Ask your doctor about it today. Levitra, when it counts. And Harris Entertainment.
Doyle busted my ass. Hey, didn't he win the horse tournament last year, the same one you won this year? And he says that he thinks that should be the main event.
Scott Fischman out of the main event, and he's commiserating with the only crew member left in the event, Brett Youngblood, playing at the outer tables. The guy sitting in Fischman's seat now at the featured table, the same guy who knocked out Fischman's buddy, Dutch Boyd, Howard Lederer, is here now. And the king of the table is Doyle Brunson with almost 100,000 chips.
Right, it has been a privilege to watch Doyle today, Lon. We've just seen the best of him.
Howard will not play the first two cards he sees here. Jan Šović folds as well. And actually the rest of the table does fold over to Texas Dolly with a couple of deuces.
Boy, Doyle has had a lot of pairs today. He had kings, he had queens, he had sevens, and now the deuces.
And he'll come out with a bet. 2,700. Over to Mike Moratis. Jack 10 suited. Will he play point man for the rest of the table? It just seems like every time Doyle goes in, everybody runs away.
Well, there's one person chasing the fire truck.
So it'll be heads up, Brunson and Moratis. Moratis has the better draw right now.
Doyle with the pair and Moratis with the suited overcards.
And now the flop. 4, ace, 8, and a wasted bunch of good draw possibilities for Moratis.
And both players check to the turn.
Turn card, 5 of spades. Brunson gets a straight draw. He'll check. Looks like Moratis might want to dance. Puts in 5,000.
He's hoping he's dancing without a partner because it is his attempt to just take the pot right down. He wants Doyle to go away right here. All he has right now is jack high. Doyle with not much of a hand himself. But Doyle might smell a rat from that small bet from a first-time World Series player.
It's fun to watch him work.
You know, Doyle might be figuring that bet shows weakness.
20.
Doyle will raise it to 20,000.
Moratis wanted to take it down, and Doyle says, not on my watch. Come back over the top, and Moratis dumps it. What a play.
Doyle Brunson has the chips, and he's not afraid to use them.
He's staring at a 5,000 chip bet and 4 overcards, and he says, let's see what you're made of.
Don't be trying any of that stuff in my pots, Dolly. Then looking back and smiling like that.
I wouldn't dream of trying to do it to you, bub.
Howard paying his respects to the great one.
The Horseshoe has never seen crowds like this before, both in the volume of players and spectators. On the outer tables, you see the last member of the crew that remains in the main event, that is Brett Youngblood. Brett has almost 14,000 chips right now, and he will push them all in. He's got a pair of 5s, and now he will wait for the rest of the table to act to see if he'll get any callers. And the rest of the table does fold over to Robert Daniel.
You want me to call?
I can't answer that question.
I can't
No, because I'm not sure what the right answer is.
You don't know what you think?
Well, I know what I think, but I'm not sure what you're thinking, and then it gets really confusing after that.
It's like the poison cups.
Yeah,
it's
right.
Like,
you know, like.
You think.
I mean, I want you to either.
Daniel says enough of that. I'm calling 5s.
All right. Give me something, baby.
Youngblood up against 2 overcards. He's got the pocket 5s.
Now the flop gives Robert Daniel a straight draw.
Brett still has the best hand with his 5s.
And now the turn card is a queen, and Daniel collects a straight.
Ooh. And now Youngblood will need an ace or a 5 on the river, or we will be rid of the crew.
The river card is a 6, and that will do it. Brett Youngblood eliminated.
The crew busts out of the main event, but what a wonderful World Series for them. A small group of poker friends puts together 3 bracelets and stamps its name on this 2004 World Series.
Meanwhile, Phil Hellmuth has had a very inconsistent day with the chips. He was up over 25, down to 3, up to 20. Now with his last 1,100 chips, he was all in against Kevin Bott. Bott leading the hand with 2 10s, Phil with a pair of 8s.
So Hellmuth is going to need a king or an 8 to stay alive. He gets no help on the turn. Phil Hellmuth now 1 card away from elimination.
Now the river card is a 2 of spades. That will end it. Bot wins the hand, and Phil Hellmuth is eliminated.
In Phil's defense, he almost always gets in all of his money with the best hand. And when he's beaten, he bemoans his fate.
Phil looked towards this tournament all year long to win a record-breaking 10th bracelet. He walks away from the 2004 World Series empty-handed.
I played spectacular poker for 2 days and I'm out. I made laydowns no one else in the world would have made, and it wasn't that hard for me to do, and I'm out. So, you know, but maybe there's a reason why I'm out. I don't know. It's frustrating.
Win or lose, Phil Hellmuth always leaves an impression on the field. Back to our featured table.
45. 45. What do you have?
Howard Lederer and his sister Annie Duke comparing chip stacks.
Dolly, it feels like this tournament started days ago.
My tournament started about 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's true too.
Howard has always run into hard luck in the main event. He finished 5th the first time he played in 1987, and since then, he's never made it back to the final table.
I'm ready for a break, but I'll happily wait 5 days for a few days off.
A few more days of work would bring Howard to the championship table.
Doyle Brunson looking at a suited King 10, and he has been pushing around this featured table all night long, and he'll bet 3,500 chips. And the table folds over to Howard Lederer, a pair of 7s.
And he is in the big blind. And he calls Doyle's bet.
So with the 2 7s, Lederer has a slight lead as these 2 respected giants of poker go head-to-head. And now the flop comes 4, 3, 7, and a set of 7s for Howard Lederer.
And Howard will slow play his set, trying to set a trap against a man who's been smelling out traps since the Whig Party was popular. He's hoping to induce a bet from Texas Dolly. Dolly does have a flush draw.
I'm all in.
I call.
God almighty.
And Howard has gotten Texas Dolly to play right into his hands, and it's Howard now all in with 37,000 chips.
So Brunson with the semi-bluff.
All right. Rock and roll.
He still could make the best hand when he bet the flush, but Howard's in a strong position.
And here comes the turn card. It's a king. Brunson pairs up, and Lederer's 3 7s are still best.
But another king would give Lederer a full house.
Need a black one, son.
So the only way Brunson can knock out Howard would be with a river spade.
And here comes the river card. Oh, and it's a spade, and Howard Lederer is eliminated.
Good in, Dolly.
Sorry, bud. Pretty lucky there.
Brutal finish for Howard. When you try and trap an opponent, sometimes you trap yourself, and it hurts.
Howard Lederer had been holding his own throughout this main event, and just like that, he is gone.
It's not every day you get to play for $5 million, so I'm a little disappointed right now. You know, you start thinking about this one the day you get knocked out of the last World Championship event. So, I mean, I've got a year to wait. It's gonna be a long year.
From Howard to Howard's sister Annie Duke. She is in the outer tables, and right now she is all in a hand against Henrik Olsen. Annie Duke pushed her last 25,000 chips into the pot, trying to steal it with a king high.
Yeah, she's bluffing with king high. The good news for her is that Olsen doesn't have much. She only has ace high, and she has a good chance of pushing him out right here.
Annie Duke wants to go into the next day in a strong position, so she's looking to take the pot right here.
It's an all or nothing proposition for her.
And with just an ace high, Henrik Olsen makes the call.
You can see the disappointment in Annie's body language. She will need a king on the river, or she will follow her brother out the door.
And the river card, another 5, and Olsen wins the hand and eliminates Annie Duke. Annie Duke realized one dream this year when she won a World Series of Poker bracelet, but her last 25,000 chips were given away on a bluff. So Annie Duke and her brother Howard Lederer will have to wait till next year. Cindy Violette won't become the first female to win it all either, but hope is still alive in the form of Erin Ness, who is maximizing her stay here. Many men took a tumble.
See you all next year.
And one by one, the crew went down.
See you guys next year.
And two former champions, Johnny Chan and Phil Hellmuth, saw their dreams of a record 10th bracelet quickly dashed.
Nice hand, Doyle.
But one old school legend proved that he still has a lot of life left as his quest for number 10 continues.
I'm a little bit tired, but I'll make it. I've been through it before.
2,300 players are now gone. Just 277 remain, but only one will end up happy.
Survive, 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 survive.